Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Inside USF Basketball. I'm your host, Pat Olson. Today we'll sit down with USF head coach Rex Walters. We'll look back at the Gonzaga and Portland weekend. We'll look ahead to the road trip down to Los Angeles. The Dons take on Loyola Marymount. And we'll preview the next home game as the Dons host the Pepperdine Waves, 6 o'clock this Saturday right here on the Hilltop. That's all next on Inside USF Basketball. Coach, as we get started to assess the weekend, you had home losses against Portland and Gonzaga. I know you go back over and look at game tape. Your thoughts on those two ball games?
We just didn't guard. We just didn't guard in either one of those games. That's disappointing for me. I mean, as a coach, it's my job to get them to guard and teach them. And I think against Gonzaga, when it really became winning time, we couldn't get a rebound. We just didn't finish the possession with a stop and a rebound. They kept getting second ones, and that put even more pressure on us offensively. We got good looks, but I just feel like offensively we can be more aggressive if on that other end we can get stops and rebounds, and we just didn't do that. Portland had a good game plan. We just didn't protect the paint at all. Way too many layups. I mean, but in both games I thought we did a decent job on the three-point line, but in terms of protecting the paint, it wasn't nearly good enough.
You talked with me after the ball game on our radio post game about developing a winning culture. What does that take to make that happen? Because the last 2 years you did win 39 games combined coming into the season.
I just think I talked about the culture of coach is crazy. Coach wants too much. Coach wants us to lift too much. Coach wants us to run too much. Coach wants to practice hard all the time. We got to change that culture, you know what I mean? And it's got better over the years, but for us to take that next step and truly be a team that can be in the top 3 in our league, win a conference championship. 2 years ago we were one game away from winning a conference championship. We lose at Pepperdine. We end up being one game short, get the 3rd seed. You just got to want it more, and that's what has to change, because now you want to be in the weight room, you want to be here, you want to always be working, studying, working, resting, and eating right. That's what it's going to take for us to get to the next level. Because at the end of the day, we talk about this all the time. We've got to develop the players that we have here to get better, and we've done a solid job of that. All of our guys get better over the years, and then you got to recruit better players. And some will say, well, why are you trying to over-recruit me? No, you're here. I'm developing and coaching you. When I was at Kansas, they were trying to bring in Jason Kidd and Jimmy King and all these guys. It was my job to do my job and get better every day. So the guys that are here, we got to coach them and develop them, get them bigger, stronger. We've got no excuses now. We have a strength conditioning coach who does a great job. The problem is in the weight room, our guys have never had that, really. A guy that's dedicated to them, so they don't like it. Instead of welcoming it and loving it and getting after it, they feel like, well, now we're being held more accountable. So there's some pushback there that we've got to get to the next level.
You've got 3 games left in the regular season, West Coast Conference play, and then the tournament looms down the line. How important is it in your mind that your team be on a little bit of a roll going to Las Vegas?
It's really about playing the way you're capable of playing, and we haven't been lately. We made shots against BYU. We also protected the paint. They missed some shots. BYU missed some shots. They were a little tired in that game, I thought, but our protection of the paint was really good. Transition defense in the second half against BYU was really good. We just got to do the things that we talk about every single day, and not do it begrudgingly. I think sometimes there's sarcasm in the way that we do, in the way that some of our guys do it. There's pushback, and don't get me wrong, we've got a really good group. Our freshman class. You talk about Avery Holmes and Tim Dirksen, Matt Christensen. Their numbers as freshmen are just as good as guys that end up being honorable mention and all league guys. And I'm talking about Angelo, I'm talking about Rashad, I'm talking about Paris, I'm talking about Michael. Their freshman numbers are as good, if not better. But I want those guys, and I want our team to change the culture. I want them to now welcome more. Coach Riley always talked about the disease of more. more effort, more execution, more enthusiasm, and equals more wins, you know, more rings, more championships. That's the step we want to take, and that's what I'm constantly battling every day to get them to want it close to as much as my staff and I want it.
You alluded to the freshman, and one of your freshmen, Tim Dirksen, had started every ball game and then did not start this past Saturday against Gonzaga. I had a chance to visit with his dad a little bit after the ball game, and his dad said, "Boy, Tim handled it really well." Tell me from your perspective the conversation with Tim and how he dealt with not having his first start of the year.
Tim's a great kid. He's a great young man. He's not a kid anymore. He handled it great. He knows he hasn't been playing as well, especially the last two games prior to this weekend. And even the Portland game didn't play as well. He's the first to say some guys are probably more deserved. Today he's back with the starters. You know, we don't have a guy that's grabbed except for maybe Cole, that has grabbed the position and said it's my position. Nobody's taking it. It's mine. I'm gonna beat you every day. Tim handled it great, and he did the things that we talked to him about. We talked about being aggressive, attacking the basket. We talked about ready to shoot on the catch. We talked about getting the guys defensively. I'm watching tape last night of Gonzaga. He did just that, you know. And you're going to make and miss shots, but are you taking the right shots? Or are you taking them aggressively? Are you going to get into people and attack them? I mean, Tim's like that. That's what I love about him. And if he keeps that mentality and develops it and grows it, you know what I mean? Because it can never stay the same. It's got to always get better. He'll be a really good player in this league, you know, and he's got a great mentality. He's got a great work ethic. That three spot it's up for grabs still, and I think he's going to fight for it.
Let's preview the weekend. The Dons go on the road. They play at Loyola Marymount on Thursday. You beat the Lions on the home floor earlier this year. Talk about that matchup with Loyola.
It really starts with Anthony Ireland and Ashley Hamilton. We've got to do a great job of keeping those guys out of the paint, making sure that it's funny, you got to make them bounce it because you don't want them shooting open threes, but then you got to protect the paint with the guy guarding the ball and the guys off the ball, and then you've got to limit them to one shot. It's not rocket science, you know. That's the first part, and then on the other end we got to find the open man. You know, we just got to find the open man. That guy's got to be play and act like the best player on the floor. And that doesn't mean shoot it. It doesn't mean pass it. It doesn't mean drive it. It means pick the right one of those three, you know, and that's what it's going to come to. It's always tough to play there. You know, last year we're up pretty much the whole game, and they came back on us and got it done. So every game for us, you know, I've told our teams we're good enough to beat anyone in our league. You know, we're also good enough to get beat by anyone in our league. So we've got to play our A game.
Are you surprised that the Lions haven't had a sexier win-loss record? They've had a lot of games where they've lost close. You know, I watched the San Diego game, and they lost in a layup at the end. They've had a number of games where they've been right there, but they've struggled this year, and a lot of folks picked them a little bit higher in the West Coast Conference.
Yeah, you know, don't take offense. Media guys really don't know. I knew that it would be a difficult year for them, just because they lost Drew Viney, Jared Dubois. Those two guys were really good, and you know, we lost 75% of our scoring, and maybe that's why I wasn't smart enough to recognize that you know, we need to do more. But those guys were really good. It puts a lot more pressure on Anthony Ireland. It puts a lot more pressure on Ashley Hamilton. They got younger guys, and they've had injuries. You know, Max does a good job. They've had injuries. They've been banged up. Guys that they counted on are no longer there, healthy. You know, but they're a good team, and they're a team that they can play with anybody. It's just, you know, it's a lot of pressure right now on those two guys, and you know, you lose guys like that, it's going to be a step back unless you stay healthy and your younger guys have developed and are ready for that next step.
Final West Coast Conference home game this Saturday. It's a 6 o'clock tip-off here on the Hilltop with the Dons to host the Waves. Coach, I know you're going to give me the coach speak. Yeah. You think one game at a time. Yeah. But for the fans' sake, preview the Waves game a little bit. You did play Pepperdine down there. You had a very good ending against Pepperdine. Shot the three well in their building. We
got to do a great job in transition defense against Loyola Marymount. We've got to keep them off the glass. We've got to find the open man. You know, that's the biggest thing, you know, right now, and then we'll start thinking about Pepperdine. They're a good team as well. Marty does a good job, but I haven't even watched tape of them yet quite honestly. So I haven't watched our game from last time against them. We had some guys step up late in that Pepperdine game, Frank Rogers, that really helped us win it. And you know, it's going to be like that all year. Who's going to step up and who's going to help, you know, Cole and Cody, and hopefully they have the games they're capable of playing. And if we do that, we'll have a chance to win.
Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.